Oh,
Oh.
it's not, it's 5:30, right?
Oh, is it? Oh, yeah, it just turned. Sorry.
Yeah. I know that, we have, we're missing, I haven't heard from Hannah or Miss Shea.
There's Hannah.
Is she here? Let's
Yep,
see.
just jumped.
Oh, there you are. Hi, Hannah.
Hi.
So, and I know that, Susan and, Chris are joining us, to talk about the ordinance. So I guess, right now we have enough. we have-
Michelle's going to be a little late. She's just coming in from work.
Okay, so shall we begin? This
Yeah.
is, and again, I love it. The very first time I was supposed to be chair, I got the COVID, so. Well, anyway, so here we are. All right, as the recent amendments to the open meeting law allows, the board will continue to hold meetings remotely. Adequate alternate access to the meetings is provided through the Zoom link below. The public may not physically attend this meeting, but every effort will be made to allow the public to view and listen to the meeting in real time and participate when necessary. Additionally, all votes taken by the Gloucester Human Rights Commission during this and future remote meetings will be taken by roll call vote. If you are calling in on a phone, you can press *9 to request to speak. If you are watching on a computer or device, there is a raised hand button that you can tap or press to request to speak. Please use either of these options during oral communications to be recognized to speak. Okay, so I'm going to call to order. Let's see, we have Hannah Kimberly, Mayuza Alves.
Hi.
And Tony Borge. Right, I just only call those who, the members, right? Not the non-voting members, I don't call, right? Like,
Correct. Mhm.
okay. And so, and member Michelle McCaffrey is on her way and will be joining us. Holly, are you back?
I'm back.
So
I
you're,
can hear everything.
okay.
Mhm.
So I'd like to have us, we had submitted the review and approval of the minutes from the February 27th meeting. Does anyone have any questions or comments about the minutes? Okay, we have a motion to vote and approve the minutes?
I think we might want to do that at the end when Michelle is here.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
So, well, I think Susan and Chris haven't joined us yet. So, then we can, let's just move on to the Janet Parsons to talk about the Cape Ann Slavery and Abolition Project. And Holly, Janet is going to want to share the website.
Okay.
So Janet, are you there?
I'm here. Yeah.
Okay, I just didn't see you. So,
Okay.
all right, off to you.
Okay, thank you. Hello, everybody. Thank you very much for inviting me to be here tonight. I appreciate the chance. I thought I'd start by asking if folks have heard about the Cape Ann Slavery Project at all. I'm trying to figure out how much to say to introduce you to it. Is anybody familiar? I thought I saw Hannah nodding her head.
Yeah, I've actually used it with my history class, so thank you.
That's
Oh, yeah,
fantastic.
Chris has got a
Yeah.
raised hand.
So where do you teach? Just curious.
At the Academy at Penguin Hall in
Oh,
Wenham.
wow. Okay. That's fantastic. That's great news for us, because a lot of the feedback we get is, well, how are the schools using this? And as Tony knows, we have conversations about that, but we're a little bit stymied about how to get it into the schools. So that's great. But at any rate, this is a project that started back in 2015 when the Unitarian Universalist Church in Rockport started having an anti-racism group meeting, and they were trying to figure out what activities they could do to foster anti-racism on Cape Ann. And the idea that they had was to do a project to uncover the presence of slavery here on Cape Ann. And from that very small beginning, it really grew into a much bigger project than any of us had ever anticipated. They invited my church. I'm the minister at the Gloucester UU Church. They invited us to participate, and we were happy to do that. And so we started off researching sites that had connections to enslaved people on Cape Ann. But over time, it became much more about their stories, and also became an effort to really trace the impact of enslaved people on the economy, both in Cape Ann and nationally. And so, so we ended up creating this website called Cape Ann Slavery and Abolition. And shall I just start sharing it, I guess?
Yeah, and I'm just gonna step in real quick there to let you know, Chris Brosnahan is here. He's our Assistant General Counsel. So he is here for Suzanne Egan. So I've popped him in as a participant. Okay.
I'm not seeing my files. So what am I not doing right? Okay, now let me try it. There we go. Okay. All right. So this is our homepage. This is Cape Ann Slavery and Abolition. And as you can see, we sorry, looking for my cursor. This is our attempt to really highlight much of what we found out about the life of enslaved people here on Cape Ann, the activities of abolitionists on Cape Ann, and then also the role that enslaved people played in the economy. And that in particular, I think, was very, very interesting. We started to counter the story, the narrative that slavery didn't exist in the North. And I think most of us all understand at this point that that's completely inaccurate. But you would hear people say, "Oh, well, there weren't any slaves up here," and that was very, very untrue. And so one of the things that we did was to research the presence of enslaved people. And so we've ended up, this is our newest piece, actually. This just got added to the website a few months ago. We actually have done quite a bit of research to make sure that that the records are displayed here, and that you have lists of the names of people who were born and baptized and married and who died here on Cape Ann. And Gloucester and at the time, Rockport was part of Gloucester, and then have even included Manchester down here toward the end. So, so we started with that. We also looked into some of the individual families of formerly enslaved people. And so just start with the Freeman family, because a lot of people are aware of the Freemans because they owned the house that is now Wellspring House. And so they lived there for generations. And this is you see the picture here of the little girl on the left in the top picture. This is her many, many years later, standing in the doorway of what's now Wellspring House, Harriet Johnson. So there was, considerable record of formerly enslaved people living on Cape Ann for generations and making their homes here. And so that's one thing to highlight. Then we wanted to talk about, we looked at the economy, and this is important because it illustrates how the presence of slavery existed throughout the entire United States economy. It was kind of foundational in terms of building trades and shipping and commerce. And we determined that Gloucester in particular was very involved in the slave trade. The ships, schooners owned by Gloucester people made many trips to the West Indies and participated in the triangle trade. So Gloucester started bringing dried fish down to the sugar and coffee plantations in the West Indies, and then would bring back molasses that would then be made into rum here in the local distilleries. So that was how it started. And eventually, as time went on, and in 1808, when the international slave trade was outlawed, people were doing it as smuggling operations. And there were Gloucester ships that were involved in going to the west coast of Africa to bring back enslaved people. So we have, I just wanted to show you this little cutaway. This is a model of how they did it. These were fishing schooners, and they would create an additional deck on the ship. You can see my cursor here, so that they could bring back people. This is the hold with all the goods, but then they would create this other deck where they would have people lying down and shackled to keep them from revolting. And so here's a diagram of it. It made the ships, they had to retrofit the ships, and it made them kind of vulnerable to sinking because they had so much sail up above, and the hull had to be very light. So it was risky, but they obviously considered it worth it. And there's records of a couple of cases of Gloucester schooners that were built in the Essex shipyards that got involved in the slave trade and ran into trouble with the British authorities. And this is a famous story, apparently, the ship, the Illinois, that either was run aground. They're quite sure that it was run aground by being pursued by the British Navy, but it wasn't clear then. There are conflicting accounts of whether the ship broke up on the rocks and all the enslaved people on board drowned, or whether in fact it ran aground and people were able to escape from the ship and make their way back to freedom. So as I said, there are multiple conflicting stories here, but the important story is that a Gloucester-owned vessel was involved, clearly involved in the slave trade. We've got excerpts from ship logs and as much information as we could find. Let's see. Oh, there's the Lita here. Anyway, there's some big names here, big Gloucester history names. The Purse family, the Huffs, the Parsons. I'm not sure if I'm a descendant of any of them. You never know. But the interesting thing is, of course, these were leaders of the local economy. So money that they were making in the slave trade was, of course, then going into Gloucester banks and ultimately Gloucester churches. One of the things that we realized at my church, the Gloucester UU Church, is that we have memorial stained glass windows, and we have this one window that was donated by the Huff and the Purse families. So we have direct ties to people who had connections with the slavery economy. And so that's the kind of thing that creates a moral dilemma for churches, obviously, and something that we've had to really grapple with and be very honest about. It's like, yes, the money that came to build and maintain our church came out of the slavery economy. And if you dig deeply, you'll find that across the board. I mean, money that would have gone to museums or colleges, any philanthropic organization, all would have had its foundation in the slavery economy. So, we tried to uncover this just on a small scale on Cape Ann, but it is nationwide. And my point in talking about this is to always say, well, this is why we have conversations about reparations, because we are all still benefiting from the economy that was created with slavery at its foundation. So let me see. The economy. I was going to show you also. I don't know if you knew that Rockport had a cotton mill downtown, and the current Rockport Library was its machine house, machine room, and it was right downtown. There were a lot of cotton mills in Massachusetts, in New England, and of course, the cotton came from the South, and so these little cotton mills were directly tied to the slavery economy as well. So that's just another example. It wasn't just fishing, but it was cotton as well. And looking for this article names, and again, you've got a lot of the Cape Ann names of some of the prominent families, Stacy and Babson and Hoff again, and so there's lots of connections here. And this mill even had mill housing, which these buildings are still there on Broadway in Rockport. They're condominiums now, but they were built for mill workers. And they apparently tried to take care of their mill workers, keep them safe, but they didn't extend their concern to enslaved people that were having to pick the cotton. Here's a photo of the mill after it burned in the 1880s. It was functional up until the 1880s, and then it burned. But you can look here on this map. This is a map of downtown Rockport, and where my cursor is would have been the mill along Broadway. This section here is what's now the library. And so you can see what a big part of downtown Rockport it would have been. So let me think. That's a really quick tour through it. Do you want to ask some questions? I know that I haven't been watching the time, so I don't know if I've taken about as much time as you wanted to give this, but
We have a time for a couple of questions.
sure. Well, let me bring you back in because I can't see you. Okay. There we go. Anybody have any questions?
I think Tony had mentioned that you all were working with the Gloucester 400 committee in terms of adding this information into the idea of Gloucester 400 celebration. Could you maybe talk about that a little bit?
I've been participating in the DEI committee, and we contributed quite a bit to the understanding of how to talk about some of, a really broad look at Gloucester history, and not just focus on the European immigration and the businesses and those kind of stories, but to look at these hidden stories as well. So we don't have any events planned associated with this, but we did really want to just make sure that we were at the table in talking about the lives of people who otherwise would be hidden, the Gloucester's hidden history, which includes Native American people as well. And so I think that you'll be seeing soon that there's an effort to be showcasing more about the lives of Native American people when European settlers first began to arrive. So yeah, it's been it's a little bit under the surface, but it's been definitely there from the beginning.
Does anyone else have any questions? All right. Janet, one thing is I forgot to ask you to state your address, because it's
Oh, okay.
in the
Yes.
minutes.
Okay. For the minutes, the church is located at 10 Church Street in Gloucester. Do you need my home address, or is that sufficient?
Fine.
Is that fine, Jason?
Yeah, it's fine by me.
Okay. Great. Well,
Good.
thank you so much, Janet. And I know we're missing we had a conflict today, but and so I think one of the roles of the Human Rights Commission is to be a forefront in the education and to continue to get this information out in the history of Gloucester out. And I know we've been discussing that for a while, but it's definitely, this is one of the roles, and that's why it was important to have you come in and share. And so that, it will be in our minutes and other aspects.
Mhm.
So thank you so much.
You're welcome. This is a great opportunity because the more people who know about this, first of all, can use the website, anybody kind of wants to, and then just so that it's part of the conversation, that people are aware of it and looking to us for more information. And we love coming out to do these little talks with other groups. So we would be very happy to show up at other meetings or groups that you might want to you folks might want to invite us to. We do these, so
Great.
very happy to come back or do something else. So.
Great. Thank you so much.
Oh, Jason, did you have a question?
I just wanted to, if I could, indulge my an observation that what's really great about this and about the issues that have been rising up about the indigenous peoples is this fills in a great big cavernous hole of history that people tend to kind of overlook. There's a lot of glossing over about, the Judeo-Christian origins of our city and about, the great fishing traditions and all these things that happened, but we forget, or we're not taught that was all predicated on one, moving a bunch of people out who used to live here, and moving people in here who were taken from their homes to engage in an economy that was not their own and live in slavery. So I'm really grateful that you're doing this. I'm going to definitely pass this along to my fellow counselors and post it on my website, because I think it's really important for people to have the full picture here.
Wonderful.
I'm grateful for it. Thank you.
You're welcome. As I always say, I mean, this is hidden history, but it really is hidden in plain sight. You don't have to look too hard.
I think most people don't want to look too hard.
They don't want
Right.
to look hard.
Yeah.
And as I said, we had to grapple with, the ethics and the morals for ourselves, and this is why we started actually with the churches and not any local families or anything like that. As we thought we need to own this for ourselves and tell our own stories. So
That's right.
hopefully we're doing that, and we are continuing. We're eagerly looking for more stories that folks can research and put up on the website. One of my focuses right now is we own a cemetery up the street from the church, and there's some question of whether formerly enslaved people might be buried there in unmarked graves, and so I'm trying hard to see what I can figure out about that. So I'm actively looking for help. The day they taught this in seminary, I apparently was skipping class. So any rate, but it's a real interest, and really hoping that we can just really be able to highlight some of these people's lives all the way to where they are now. So
Right.
anyway, okay. Yeah,
When you're ready to ask for help, Janet, maybe reach back out to us and we
Yes,
can
definitely.
great. Thank you. Yeah. I'm
blast
working
it for you.
with the Cemetery Commission, but I think it's kind of more than I can really manage. So this is great.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
All right.
Right.
I'll see you soon.
Okay,
Thank
take
you.
care. Thank you so much.
you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
All right, so, I guess,
Tony, who did you say you were waiting for besides Suzanne? Well,
I think, I
it's
think
Chris,
Chris is gonna be here, I think, so it's.
right, but I mean, was there somebody else? Because we have two people also on the call.
They must be for the,
Okay,
maybe for a public comment, I think.
Okay, maybe,
Yeah. Yeah. So Chris, are you there?
Hi, I'm here.
Hi,
Sorry
Chris.
about that.
So now, we're going to be talking about, Chris is going to be giving us an update on the revisions to both the Human Rights Commission and the Disability Rights Commission. And Chris, I shared with the commission members your memo that you said to me about the Disability Rights Commission. So
Yeah. So the Disability Rights Commission is really what I was planning on focusing on
Yeah.
today. And it's just about bringing it into compliance with state law. So there's a state law, general law, chapter 40, section 8J, that allows cities that adopt that statute to establish a disability rights committee. And currently we have the disability rights subcommittee in our ordinances, but we don't have any statute. We haven't accepted the statute. So that presents a conflict. So we're just trying to resolve that. And I mean, the options are really simple. They're the three only options we could do. We could either accept the statute and, change the code of ordinances. We could completely get rid of the disability rights subcommittee, which I don't think anyone wants to do. Or what we could do is we could just remove it from the code of ordinances and we could put the disability rights, it would just be in the Human Rights Commission. You don't have to put every subcommittee in the code of ordinances.
So would that mean then, it would be if we choose that option, then, or we make the recommendation, to the mayor, about that option, so that we would have under the Human Rights Commission ordinance, there would be a specific statement,
It would be
Yeah.
completely removed from the code of ordinances and it would just be internal to the Human Rights Committee. Because every committee can set up as many subcommittees as they
Okay.
want, and usually they don't go into the code of ordinances.
okay.
So that's kind of where the conflict is coming.
Yeah, because I mean, I would think, one is that we definitely want to make sure that there's a statement about disability rights, and I'm not sure, because otherwise, if there's not a statement, I think it can get lost. Well, it would get lost.
Well, I think the Human Rights Commission could put in its statement something about disability rights. And
Okay.
that would kind of alleviate that concern, if that works for you.
Mm-hmm. I think we, like some comments from other members in regards to, like what, do people have the three, have the memo in front of them? Because I think I can,
I think the third one is probably, I think would be best for us because we're having such a hard time to kind of staff people in the first place. And then making a statement about it or adding it to our definition statement, whatever would be great. I think having it be a subcommittee is probably the easiest way to resolve the issue instead of trying to make an entirely new group or remove it completely, which I don't think is necessary.
yeah, no, I agree with you, Michelle. I think that really makes sense, but, Hannah Mayuza, and Jason, like to kind of, provide some, comments or feedback or thoughts.
No, I agree with Michelle. We certainly can't do option B to get rid of it.
No.
Nobody wants to do that. But we really have struggled in getting members to to join, so.
Yeah, that has never gotten off the ground, you know, and sadly, you know, that, you know, as a separate, you know, commission. So this is, yeah. And if, I think that it really makes sense, to, you know, for point 3, you know, to have, you know, it within, the Human Rights Commission, because that way, you know, as we've been struggling to, otherwise, you know, if we can't get it up and running, it's really, you know, we're doing a disservice to, our residents who, you know, need to provide that, you know, their voice, or be able to, you know, come and discuss that, you know, their issues, to us. And so this way, that, you know, we wouldn't, you know, that to me, again, I agree. I think that, helps resolve the problem. It doesn't, you know, yes. Did I see your hand up, Holly?
Yeah, I just had a question for Chris. So as a subcommittee, that would mean it's staffed within this committee, correct? And is it any number of people that they choose to pop into the subcommittee? Okay, so you can kind of set it up our own way, which is kind of what we were thinking of, I believe, when we set up the Disability Rights Commission. I mean, I think like Michelle said, that third option might be the correct one. That's really what we were trying to do.
Yeah.
I'm recalling.
I expected you guys would pick that one. I just didn't want to tell you what.
Yeah, well,
The Monty Hall of Human Rights. There you go.
yeah. So Jason, do you have any, you know, comment or feedback, you know, guidance for us?
I would just say that legislatively, obviously, it's the least, the number 3 is the most advantageous, because you already exist and you're creating a subcommittee. I would just reach out to the mayor's office to encourage not only additional membership in the Human Rights Commission itself, but also focusing on people with disabilities, so that there's a real voice on the commission
Yeah,
addresses these issues. And I realize the challenge in getting people to volunteer and to do this, but you know, it never hurts to kind of, you know, remind that we need to find these people.
Yeah.
Well,
well, yeah, and when I met, oh my God, it was 2 months ago, I think I met with Pam Toby, about, you know, the issue about recruitment for the Human Rights Commission. And of course, we all know that she said that's, you know, it's just not us, it's others. And that, you know, they're working on developing a campaign to get it out for, you know, not only recruiting for boards and commissions. So, you know, and it is so important, because this is what democracy is about, you know, I mean, and as Pam, you know, I mean, the people, Holly and everyone else that working, you know, and the mayor that working at City Hall, you know, they can't do everything, you know, that's why they need boards and commissions, you know, that's why they need city council to be able to get, you know, other parts of the, you know, and it is our right as a, you know, I mean, I think it's a right and obligation as a citizen, but, well, great. I think we should, any other questions or?
I just want to say that I agree with that, too.
So, can we have a motion to you know, incorporate point 3 as you know, I know we're still working, you know, Susan and Chris is still working on, you know, on the revision, but as they're working on that, you know, the Disability Rights Commission is deleted from its code of ordinance, and it becomes a subcommittee on you know, on disability rights on the Human Rights Commission. So we can have a motion.
Sure. I make a motion that Gloucester deletes the Disability Rights Commission from the Code of Ordinances. That's my dog. And the HRC establishes a subcommittee on disability rights on its own.
Can we have a second?
I second.
Okay, so we have the vote, Hannah Kimberly, Meisner
Yes.
Alves,
Yes,
Michelle McCaffrey,
Yes.
and Tony Borge, yes. So the motion has been approved, and so we will you know, send an email to the mayor informing him, you know, asking for his approval, and then, you know, with Susan you know, and Chris can, as they're making the changes to revising the changes to the ordinance. Thank you so much, Chris.
Tony, if I could,
Jason was,
this would need to be referred to the city council O&A department for revision. So that's the
right.
next step after that.
Yes.
Thanks, everybody.
Wayne.
Chris, actually, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt.
Okay.
Can Chris stay for a couple minutes about the student?
Well, yeah, I was just gonna mention, thank you for, yeah,
Yeah.
because our next point in the agenda is on the, you know, we've been working on incorporating, adding 2 high school students to the to serve on the commission as non-voting members. And we had sent to the mayor that, you know, we had voted on and approved that there would be 2 you know, 2 members, and they for as a, you know, juniors and seniors. And the mayor sent back an email with saying that he would like to have that broadened. One is that it would be cover from, you know, freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, enrolled in Gloucester High, students that are homeschooled, and students that are, you know, are Gloucester residents, but they're, you know, through school choice that are attending other schools. And as, you know, which I think makes a, you know, it makes a lot of sense, you know, because that way we're not, you know, they are all Gloucester residents, they're all, you know, in some form or fashion, you know, attending high school. And, you know, I think that, that, you know, and there's a lot of young people that, you know, early on and even in middle school are very, very active. And I think that it makes a, you know, I can see, you know, his thoughts behind it, you know. And after I read that, that memo, I also was thinking, and I'm going to put my old retired adult education hat on. And as we're thinking about is that, you know, I know that when, if a student quits school at 16 and a half, they have to get permission, they can enroll in a GED program and get their, you know, high school equivalency exam. And I was thinking that they would also, you know, they're not formally in high school, but they are getting a high school credential. And I'm not sure, I think there's a program at Wellspring, and I think maybe in Action. So I would like to include that option too, that if you know, if a student is enrolled in a you know, high school equivalency you know, program in their, and you know, I guess age range, what, between 16 and a half and 18, that they also can be eligible to serve on the Human Rights Commission. Any thoughts onto that?
I mean, I think it's a great idea. I don't see any issue. I mean, I can always look into it a little bit. It's always safest after you look into it, but it seems fine to me.
Yeah,
Initial impression.
good. Yeah, again, that was like putting my old adult education. I ran an adult education program for 25 years. And so that was thoughts of that. I do want to share in regards to it. I think once, you know, the mayor approves and then it goes on, you know, through, and actually the timing of this, Chris, is so as you're using Susanna working on the revision of the ordinance, this piece also can be incorporated as opposed to it gets revised. And then again, we have to go back, you know, to do that. And then as it goes up to the O&A subcommittee and then city council. So I think that the timing of it is perfect. And then afterwards, then thinking about recruiting, but I wanted to share that I think it was last week, I participated in the Take Back the Night walk. And and I had never been to Unity, which is on Elm Street. It's like I think a young people organization there. And they have like a leadership council there, youth leadership council, because as I'm thinking about recruiting, and then while I was standing after we finished it, there was a very nice young man from the high school. And he's on the leadership council, at the high school, and I was explaining to him about what, we're doing on the Human Rights Commission. So it just, to me, thinking that there are avenues once we get this all through and it becomes part of the ordinance as to, well, we wouldn't begin recruiting until September anyways, because school is almost out. So it just, the timing was, and that was correct on that there. All right. Any other, I see Jason has his hand up.
Sorry, I apologize for being a little too involved here, but just Chris, would this be something that you would be willing to put into incorporating into the new ordinance? Because I know there's a number of changes that have to take place as opposed to a separate ordinance change after the fact. I mean, it just seems like cleaner for you guys to put it where it should go, and then we would then discuss it from there.
Yeah, I don't see anything wrong with that, just putting it in the new Human Rights Commission ordinance. I'm wondering now, and I don't know off the top of my head, what does the Gloucester Code of Ordinances anywhere else say anything about minimum age requirements? Or, I mean, that's all stuff I would want to look into.
It doesn't. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I'm sorry, it does for somebody that is on the Board of Commission, but they're not voting members.
Right.
So that's why we were able to get them in.
It'd be ex officio, so that, yeah.
Okay, yeah, no, I mean, I think your point's well taken. It makes sense to just, instead of doing it, a bunch of different O&A committees and revisions and all that, do it one and done.
Right. Yeah, good. I like that idea.
Well, then can we have any other questions? All right, can I have a motion, to have that we would, have the change where that any student from freshman to sophomore in the high school, or any student homeschooled, or that is attending through school choice or is enrolled in a adult education high school equivalency program, to serve as, as the two high school non-voting members to serve on the Human Rights Commission.
I second that.
Okay, so we'll take the vote. Hannah Kimberly,
Yes.
Mayusa Alves,
Yes.
Mayusa, Michelle McCaffrey, Michelle?
Yes.
Okay, and Tony Borge, yes. So the motion has been approved and passed, and I will send an email to the mayor tomorrow to inform him and that this is what we've done, and that it will be and that Suzanne and Chris, will be incorporating into the revisions of the ordinance. Great. Well, Chris, thank you so much. Perfect timing for you to be here, and us having to be talking about the high school, the addition of the high school students to the Human Rights Commission.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's been wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, so our next thing on the agenda is Wellspring Community Festival. And of course, in the timing we're having Janet speaking about the Cape Ann slavery abolition website, and she talked about the Freeman family and living in what is now currently the Wellspring. And there is going to be, we got invited, I believe I sent, hopefully I forwarded the email to everyone, but on Saturday, June 10th, we've been invited by Wellspring to, they're having a community festival from 10 to 2 at Wellspring to showcase the Freemans of West Gloucester, a Black American family who's lived for over 100 years in the house. They're going to have a number of community organizations. The Gloucester Racial Justice Team is one of the organizations that being invited, and they're having a tent and to have tables. There's also going to be an art installation, live music, and food trucks. So they have invited us, and I think it's a wonderful idea. And two, I think it also gives an opportunity for, again, with getting information out and recruiting, you know, for the commission.
Mm. No?
That sounds like a great idea. So a couple of us would have to set up a table.
Yeah, we'll get it, you know, definitely, you know, as we, you know, June 10th, you know, as we'll get into that. I'll be going too. So, but yeah, no, it's a wonderful, and again, you know, having, you know, Janet here and, you know, can be able to go on to the website and read about the Freeman family, you know, and here's another part of that, you know, recognizing that hidden history that needs to be out in the open and celebrated. And I think they're also working with the Gloucester 400 Plus too. So, and this is just another wonderful event. So, can we have a motion, that, you know, to, accept their invitation, to, attend and participate in the June 10th, Wellspring, Community Festival to honor the Freemans?
Sure, I make a motion for us to participate in the Wellspring Community Festival on June 10th.
A second.
Okay, so we have our vote, Hannah Kimberly, Michelle Alves. Michelle, I'm sorry, I know it ends, Mayu's Alves.
She just blended us together. We became one person.
I'm seeing you on the pictures, you know, it's kind of like, I'm looking at
A
you.
nice name. A
Yeah.
nice name.
Just shows how close we are. Okay, Michelle McCaffrey
Yes.
and Tony Ward. All right, so we have, you know, voted and had a unanimous vote there to request permission to attend the event, the June 10th event. Okay, well, that is all we have on our agenda. Is there anything, I think we have a couple of public members, and or if anybody on the commission have any topics to raise?
Is there any participants out there who want to speak? If they could raise their hand.
Yeah, and if anybody speak, that each speaker has 3 minutes to speak. We have the time, you know, the chair will enforce the time restriction. We're good, you know, we ask that, you know, speakers to be civil and respectful. And only address the matters, you know, that within the Human Rights Commission's jurisdiction. The speaker needs to be recognized by the chair and not interrupt anyone. So do we have anyone, any member of the public wishing to?
No, I don't have any raised hands.
Okay. All right, well, if there's no other topics or agenda items, then yes.
Can I ask one favor? Is it possible to let me know what the next couple of meetings, the dates for the next couple of meetings are going to be? I'm running into some conflicts, last minute conflicts, and I'd like to kind of
Oh, sure.
tentatively get them on the schedule for us all, so we don't.
Okay.
And I can't remember if it's the last Monday of the month or the third Monday of the month.
Well, you know,
Couldn't remember.
We've moved to the last.
yeah,
Yeah.
but see, in May, the last one I think is Memorial Day. So it would be the 22nd of May would be our next meeting. That's it.
Okay.
That's the fourth meeting
Yeah.
of the month.
5/22, okay.
And then June would be June
The
26th.
26th.
Okay,
Time's flying.
I know.
I know, my goodness.
So I'm going to be in Italy for
Ooh.
probably the whole agenda part of the June meeting. So Tony, I'll just give you the information for somebody in my office to get all that approved prior to, but I will be back for the meeting. So
That's
Okay.
awesome, Holly. What fun.
Yeah,
yeah, I'm excited. What was that?
I think it's wonderful.
I know, it's going to be amazing. I hope you have a wonderful time.
Yeah.
How would you not?
I know, I know.
Don't be jealous.
I
Yeah.
am jealous. I'm very open about my jealousy. I have to run off to another meeting, so thank you all. It's
All right,
great to
thank
see
you,
all.
Jason.
Thank you.
Bye.
Have a good
All right.
night, everyone.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Jason.
Well, and
Okay.
now I guess we're ready to, to close, so we can have a motion to close our meeting.
I make a motion to adjourn.
I second.
All right, well, Hannah Kimberly,
Yes.
Michelle McCaffrey. I almost said elves, but Mayusa elves
Yes.
and Tony
Oh,
George,
goodness.
yes. All right,
Okay.
well, thank you
Have a
so much.
Awesome.
wonderful night, everyone.
Yeah,
Thank
have a
you.
wonderful, and it's May Day on Monday, so,
Yay.
Woohoo.
yeah. So see you next month.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Yeah,
Bye.
Bye.